Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's great to see everyone out there today. It doesn't matter where we are in this world or what time zone we're in, because by the way, we've had time zone changes, right? We can all come together in one place at one time and have amazing conversation. We're here every Wednesday, normally at 10 a.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Central and 11 a.m. Eastern as we are today. For those of you that are joining us who were on the live a little bit ago waiting for us, we apologize because as we've had these time zone changes, we had a little bit of some glitches. So we're excited for those of you that are here. For those of you that are coming back either while we are alive who were here before or having to see the replay, we apologize for the confusion earlier. Super excited to be here. As I think everyone knows, our goal here on Blue TV in these weekly episodes is to either have some amazing guests as we do today. We'll talk about Nikki in just a second. Woohoo. Or whether it's a solo event, which I tend to have a lot of those as well. It is really all about, as LinkedIn Top Voices, sharing what we've learned so that you too can elevate your game on LinkedIn, giving you practical tips that when the episode is done, you can go back and start to implement yourself. Just as an FYI, I want to thank first our sponsors before we dive into Nikki and our topic. I want to thank our sponsors today. All things related to marketing. All things related to marketing. By the way, when Nikki does her introduction, you'll know why this is important. All things related to marketing is Market Me More, especially if you have events, right? Whether they are live, they're streaming through lives here, podcasts, conferences. It doesn't really matter. Market Me More is your go-to, along with all the marketing initiatives to support that. If you are looking for all things sales, that is, consulting, fractional leadership, or even just one-on-one coaching, or for a team, that is all things Salivators. And if you're looking for a way to make impact, or you're looking for someone who is making an impact, go to Top Voices Unite. So with that being said, I want to thank again our sponsors and welcome you guys yet again to this episode of Blue TV, where we are really talking more about how to get even better or put some better practices around our silent followers, why that's so important. We've been diving into that for the last 2 or 3 weeks now, where we've been talking about really how do we leverage those people that don't really engage or interact with us often. How important are they? We do know that those people are the ones who end up buying more than those who are loud and boisterous and always liking and always commenting. Those that always like and comment are usually our friends. They're there to support us. They may not be personal, but they may be even just professional friends, but they're there because you've fostered a relationship with them and less likely to buy. Those that are watching behind the scenes, that aren't commenting, that aren't liking, tend to be the ones usually who do buy more often. So we've been spending the last couple of days or couple of episodes really diving into those. Today, we're going to spend a bit more time in that as well. We're going to probably move on to something more pertinent next week, but this one is really going to be focused around how do we continue to leverage or speak to those silent followers that we have, the ones who don't engage. That being said, I want to welcome Nikki Estes. I'm going to let her do her own introduction here in just one moment, but I'm super excited to have her. She's usually out in the audience every week. Nikki and I met, probably
January 24.
Yeah, so almost 2 years ago. We have partnered together on a multitude of things. Blue TV used to be something that I launched as a way to bring on, top voices. And that was, quite frankly, when I did like 5 lives a week, 1 every day. But because Nikki and I were partnering in so many different areas, and it just made more sense for this to go under her her logo, like under her brand. Blue TV is now really owned by Nikki, and I just get to be the host. So I am super excited. Nikki is also, as all of our guests are, a fellow LinkedIn top voice. I'd love for you, Nikki, to take just a few moments. Before I do, though, I want to say I honor you and am blessed that we have become friends and partners and all those things. So I want you to take it over and share with us a little bit about who you are, so that those out there get a little bit of taste in how amazing you are.
Thank you. So the reason that we have you as the host is because you are so special. Like, this is kind of fun. You are the one that back in January said, all right, LinkedIn asked for us to do more videos. LinkedIn asked for us to test out some of their new features. So like the live stream is something that you took by the reins and ran with it. So it was very exciting to watch, because you said, anybody want to come and join the show? And you had people interviewing every week. And yeah, it was a ton of episodes. So as the company that my husband and I had owned, we sold it. I developed Market Me More. Market Me More is a company that is helping with live streams. And I said, Denise, as friends and the other projects that we're working on, we can handle that part. You don't have to worry about producing it and transcripting it, turning it into blogs and all that. We'll do that for you as a part of our relationship ongoing. So we've created some, I would say, a pretty meaningful connection in the last 2 years. It's pretty fun. So
I think so.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the intro. All right. Let's dive in. And I will tell you that we, in our partnership and where we can be a powerhouse, is that because she's all things marketing and I'm all things sales related, we really did. I mean, it just made sense to partner in all that we were doing. So that all being said, thank you, Nikki, for being here today. I'm excited for our conversation. We're going to focus a lot around a little bit more about our content and, how do we, when we have those that aren't really liking or sharing our content, does that mean that we're not really making that impact? So it is really centered around that invisible buyer who doesn't engage, but how do we overcome those feelings of, no one's paying attention, right? When in actuality, they probably are. It just because you don't see their likes or their shares doesn't mean you're not making impact. Today, we're really going to talk about how do we keep showing up with confidence so that those silent buyers recognize that they need us, that they want us, that will prompt them to want to engage with us. So Gino's out there on Team Live. Thanks, Gino. You know what? First off, Gino comes every week, and I'm super excited to have him. He's also in my hometown in Huntsville, Alabama, which, I live here in Houston, which, by the way, let us know where you're located. I'm here in Houston. Nikki, where are you at?
Fort Myers, Florida.
And Gino is, I'm going to go ahead because there's always a delay between LinkedIn comments and StreamYard. So I'm just going to tell everyone, because I already mentioned it anyway, Gino's in Huntsville. So let us know where you're located as well. But I'm glad that Gino's here. Thank you, which also prompted me to remember and remind you guys, Team Live is awesome. We appreciate that. If you are on Team Replay, just leave us the hashtag Team Replay so we can come back and have amazing conversation with you even after the episode is completed. So Gino, thanks for being out there, even after the blip that we had due to time changes. So thank you. All right, so let's talk about, let's bust a myth first, maybe to kick this off, Nikki. Like right now, does silence mean stagnation? Does silence mean, nothing's happening? Does silence mean no impact? What do you think?
I think there are lurkers. There are so many more lurkers than there are those that respond. I'll go to an event and people will say, I love your content. And I'm like, oh, because they've never engaged. And then you start asking them questions, or they start telling you stories about this or that. I'm like, oh, you are watching me. I mean, I want to say that's a good compliment, right? But at the same time, it's like, hey, how can we be able to engage them? And so I like that we're doing this so that we can be able to stimulate them to actually speak up.
Very cool. I do want to acknowledge, before we finish that conversation, I want to acknowledge Patricia. She said that she's German. So Patricia, I'm from Germany. My husband is German. We speak German as our primary language. So I knew that that it would be Patricia. She's in Quebec, well, Laval, Quebec. I think I pronounced that right, in Canada. So thanks for being out there. I don't know whether or not she's been one of those silent listeners for a while, but this is the first time I've seen her here. So welcome as your first visit here where you've been visible to us. So thank you for being out there. Well, I agree. It is those lurkers tend to be out there. So we do have to be cautious in not allowing our confidence to dwindle because we just aren't seeing much activity. I think what you should do instead is look at some of the other signals that might prompt you to realize that there are others out there who, while they may not be engaging with you, they are listening and watching. Some of the things that you could go look at are increased profile views. So I think we've walked through what daily activity way back in one of my episodes, what daily activity might look like for myself when I'm on LinkedIn. But one of the things I always do is go look at my profile views. And especially after you've posted, you may not, again, have much engagement, not many people liking, they may not be sharing it, but go look at your profile views and determine whether or not there's been an uptick in that, because that tends to happen often when there is a lurker. I say lurker, that's really harsh. So for those of you who are lurking, we won't call you lurkers today. For those of you who are silent listeners, silent watchers, right? So let's try to use silent versus lurker. So silent, for those that are silent, they may be silent, but they are probably checking you out. So go check out your profile views. The other thing to maybe take note of are the connection requests. Like I get a bunch of them, and I especially get more of them after a Blue TV episode. So go see if there's an uptick in your connection requests, especially from those who might be second-degree connections. I'm guessing everyone knows what a second-degree connection is, but maybe we should qualify that a bit. Nikki, I know you know this, so maybe you take the reins on this.
Sure. So when you're speaking to someone that it'll say their first person connection -1ST, that's someone that you are directly connected to. You can have a conversation in the DMs with no issue. Second, though, is someone that is of your first connections, is their first person connections. So that would be someone that maybe you could send a DM to if they have a certain kind of account, that it'll say free DMs available. Or you'll go to click on them and it'll say connect because you're not already connected. And then if you go to send them a message, you might be required to either enter an email address in or you have to pay one of your email credits if you have premium.
Yes, all fair. Love that. Thank you. I love leveraging your second connections. And you should take some time really when you go, I don't know, do you do this, Nikki? But I will sometimes go look at network and look at second connections so that I can find new people to connect with. Do you do that at all?
I do, actually. That's how we're able to get to the next person. So I had a client ask me, hey, I want to go present in front of Dr. Pepper. We want to do this event and we'd like to get their sponsorship. I don't have anybody as a first person connection working with Dr. Pepper. And so I looked at my first person and I looked at their second connection so that I could be able to see, all right, who do they know? So I could reach out to Dr. Pepper and have a conversation. So yeah, as an example.
Yep. I love that. That's a great example. I do the same thing. Maybe not the exact same example there, but very similar to that. So there are, I think, a couple of other ways. We talked about profile views, looking at your connection requests, see if there's been an uptick in either of those. Obviously, the more obvious ones are, when you get a DM that says, hey, I've been following you for a while, or when you are on a Zoom link where you're maybe in a networking event, or you're in the audience for another live, or, it could be a multitude of other things that other places that you might be when someone really references, really says hello and says, hey, I've been watching you. So those are the more obvious ones, but definitely go spend. So when you're thinking about, is my content really resonating with someone? Even if I'm not getting a lot of views, am I attracting the silent follower? Again, the increased profile views and the connection requests, but also look at the more subtle things that we probably never correlate, which is the DMs. Are you getting more DMs? Are they correlating with your post? And are you recognizing that people know you a bit more when you're in different places and spaces with them? So how do we really decide? I mean, thinking about are you, part of when we're looking to do business, because I always say this, and I know, Nick, you've heard me say this a million times yourself, but we're all here to do something. We're all here to sell something, whether it's a product or a service. It's our brand, it's our thought leadership, which we could also qualify as authority. It doesn't really matter. We're all trying to sell something. When we think about visibility, right? Visibility is how we gain more followers, how we get our message out there. Credibility is how credible is it? When we think about those that want to buy, it's because they've seen us and they believe us, right? They trust us, they know us, they think we can help them solve a problem or whatever it is that we're selling them, right? So when we think about how do we determine, we talked about let's not focus on confidence, right? Because they're probably out there as silent followers, look at other things. But what about how do we make sure that we're establishing credibility, that we're proving our authority, right? We should do that really in engagement patterns, right? That should be the signal that determines or entrusts us to recognize that we are being trusted, that we are becoming credible for someone. So what I mean by that is seeing the same names returning over and over, whether they're viewing your profile, whether they're watching your videos, they're just hanging around, right? Seeing the same people hanging around, again, even if they're not engaging with you, right? You can see a lot of those statistics in your analytics. And a lot of those results will show up in your analytics. So it is really making sure that you notice who's coming and how often are they showing up for you without engaging with you. And whether or not your content is actually sparking conversation. So this is not going to be obviously your silent listener, right? This is going to be, but your silent listener is watching and reading and listening to the conversations that are being had. So are you sparking conversations within your content? So whether that's in the comments, now your silent listener is not going to see your DMs, but you will know them in your DMs because that will help you get better at your messaging. It'll help you establish more credibility with them, which then establishes better credibility across the board. Or if you are being invited to speak, to collaborate with others, to contribute, to be a guest, those different action items that people ask you to do will allow you to see for yourself that you are establishing credibility. LinkedIn doesn't track necessarily all this private stuff. Like they don't know if you're collaborating or if you're speaking necessarily always somewhere, but you can make sure you do that on LinkedIn. You can go back and make posts, and Nikki is fabulous at this. I mean, Nikki's posts when she has a collaboration, someone she's collaborating with, or people that she just wants to highlight that are making impact. I mean, Nikki, you share a little bit about that yourself, but you are amazing at that.
Thank you. Well, I would say, recently we've watched some of the LinkedIn top voices lose their badges, and identifying some of that maybe is a consistency of not only posting on LinkedIn, but also communicating with people in the comments and in the DMs. All of that, LinkedIn, though they don't track, exactly what's being said as far as like, hey, we saw you talk to this person and do X, Y, Z. But they do know how often you are communicating and using the platform. So I would say that consistency is being rewarded or maybe not rewarded, just the same way as building a relationship with someone for business or for maybe a philanthropy collaboration. Like they know they're going to be able to count on you because whatever you said on your post, whatever you're saying in your comments, because people can go to your profile and they can segment out everything that you said by your comments. They can also look in the DMs. Are you saying the same things? Are you that person that they can count on, even for the small stuff? So I seek very diligently to be that kind of person. And I apologize when I'm behind because I know that sometimes people's counting on it. I may say, hey, look, you can do this live stream and we're going to have you join next week. I wouldn't say next week. Usually it's a month. But we're going to have you join next month and we'd love to have you talk about X, Y, Z. Well, if I never schedule that, I've lost a little bit of credibility. I do it twice and they're going to say, you know what? I'm going to look for someone else to hang out with. I'm going to look for someone else that I can build my brand with. So it's important that you be consistent.
I agree. Ariel says closed mouths don't get fed. Very fair statement, right? The less you engage is what the way I'm interpreting that, Ariel, is the less we engage, the less we follow up, which Nikki just stated, when she doesn't follow up, it does impact her directly. The less we engage, the less we follow up, the less opportunity that we have. And whatever getting fed means to you, right? Because again, we're all here for different reasons, but we're all selling something, right? And whatever that KPI is, which in case some of you don't know, key performance indicator, whatever that KPI is that you're marching to, that you're goaling yourself to achieve, will be the indicator as to whether or not you're actually getting there, if you are engaging or not engaging, right? Let's talk about that for a second, Nikki, because I think you are the queen of both. I think you're the queen of both follow-up, but more importantly, just the queen of really highlighting people who are making an impact, right? Because that is really your brand. Your brand is, I mean, we obviously know that Nikki's in the marketing space, but her brand has always been about really highlighting others and what they've been doing, right? Nikki, maybe share, because they see me every week talking, maybe share a little bit about, we're going to kind of go off topic for a second, because I do think that this is super important and does relate back to LinkedIn and building visibility and credibility, right? But tell us a little bit about why you started really focusing on the impact that others were having.
This is actually going to align with credibility. In watching other speakers, top voices, including you always show up consistently. You flew in, where were you, in Germany? And your live was supposed to start in 2 hours and you didn't reschedule it, however long it was. You didn't reschedule it. You're like, no, I do this every Wednesday and I'll be there. Done. You've had a cold, and it wasn't so bad, some snot or whatever, not to be vulgar, but you showed up.
Or eyes half swollen shut. Yeah.
But you showed up, and through that, you showed some vulnerability, some transparency, and people were like, okay, I can get along with this salesperson. Like, I know that she can help me to make my sales more automated, or not, less automated and more human. Like, I want to work with someone like that because they're always there and I can count on them for advice. Well, I got hooked into the top voices. I'm listening to their stories, different industries. I'm like, how can I help you to build your brand better? So right now, let's go forward to now. I'm doing a case study. I reached out to 500 different LinkedIn professionals that are industry leaders. Either they're a LinkedIn top voice or they're a part of our emerging voices. And I'm saying, hey, I want you to do something in exchange for something. I want you to go follow Market Me More. And in doing so, I'm going to do something for you and I'm going to build their brand. So I'll either go follow them and I'll repost it. I'll go and I'll introduce them to someone that's in their ICP. Those kinds of tactics, even bringing them onto a podcast or a live stream, that's building a relationship with them. Yes, it could be for my sales funnel, but it could also be for one of those in the community of the top voices so that it builds their sales funnel. So the goal of Top Voices Unite is to build a community of those that can help each other. And I've noticed in the last 2 years that that's actually worked. There are deals being done. There was real estate purchased. There were an investment that was made. There's a movie being made. There's a documentary being made. And this is not for Top Voices like the company. This is for the Top Voices individual. One guy is making a documentary of his life. Another one has a book going out of his life. And it's being used with another top voice because we keep nurturing these opportunities for live streams, for collaborations. What else have we had? Other things that have made me feel excited about building this community is there's a lawyer that helps those that are building businesses and partnerships. I'm like, okay, I want to get to know you. I want to reshare your story because you have a servant heart. You're not just doing it to make money. You're doing it because you want to help people in a very genuine way. And that doesn't mean that it's cheap or inexpensive. But the way that they're doing it is in a very loving leader servant kind of way. So that's why I do what I do. I'm helping those that want to create impact socially, economically, spiritually. I want to be a part of that. And that's why I started Top Voices. So I think that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that the way she shows up every almost day, but most certainly weekly, the way she shows up weekly does really support everything that her content, how she comments, how she engages, the activities that she does, like the live streams. It really does embody exactly and encompass all of those things that she just described to you. That is the reason why she started it and what she's doing and where she thrives in. And I think that's really about when I, think about really establishing credibility. It is really showing up as your authentic self and letting people see you should embody everything. Like I talk about all the time, humanizing sales. I am an AI, new technology enthusiast. I love those technologies. And yes, I will teach others how to adopt and adapt to them within the sales process. But really, where I find the most excitement and what helps me the most is when I can make an impact in helping us get back to humanizing the sales effort. If we think about the world problems that we have today, the controversy within our own country and the turmoil that's happening there. If you think about the wars that are raging, it is all because we are not communicating well. We're not listening and we're not asking enough questions. If I can do my small part with sales and help them to do a better job there, it starts to become this ripple effect, because then they're doing it with their buyers are learning and their buyers are taking it further out. We as salespeople are then also embodying that in our personal conversations and relationships. And it starts to become this little, small little part, but that's what I stand for. And that's what I talk about all the time. LinkedIn happens to be the platform, such as Blue TV, where we can actually do that in a way where we can speak more to the masses and to those who really also agree with you in that way. So credibility is super important. And the way that we establish that credibility is, or whether we can determine whether or not what we're saying and messaging is turning into something that's credible, that is trusting, is by what we're doing outside of just commenting and posting on LinkedIn today. It's about going out and hearing you on a stage or in a LinkedIn Live, or, reading a book that you wrote or an article that you wrote, or collaborating with someone who maybe either thinks the same as you, or so they align, or they've got a complementing product or service offering that it just makes great sense, like Nikki and I, marketing and sales, right? So I think we all struggle, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Nikki, if you don't feel this way, but I think we all struggle with this fear of, are we spending the right amount of time? Are we wasting our time? Are we, are we seeing the results that we want? Are we really establishing the credibility, and are we as visible? There are ways. I think the summary of that. So first, do you agree before I get back to the summary?
I do agree, because as Gino is asking, how many members are in TVU? At the start, there were over 170. And with the emerging voices, that's about another 30 or so people. It was too many to keep up with. So as far as does it work? We had to pare it down. So there's about 100 now that we work with, because you want to be able to provide value for all of them. So, as Denise and I do these shows and we bring people on, you can't please everybody. You can't, and the way that you're building the credibility is that you pare down to what you can handle. Don't go out there and try to reach out to 1,000 people if you don't have the staff to be able to get there. You need to be able to create some of those quick wins, and you need to be able to showcase it on your page and the way that you talk, so that people see, hey, I'm cautiously watching you, and I'm seeing you do this, and you handle this, and you answer these small requests on a consistent basis. You are creating credibility. So I do believe that through those collaborations, we are executing well, because we've pared down what we're doing to what we can handle. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that well?
Yes, perfectly. I would summarize that by just saying, don't take on more than you can handle, because when you do that, you lack, or you fall short on the follow-up, and the follow-up and the consistency is what is going to establish that credibility. Would that be yeah. So I know we're getting close to the bottom of the hour. I think, what I really want to do is kind of summarize some key takeaways as it relates to, our topic here today. And let's go back. And first Patricia, she said this was her first visit. So thanks for being out there. Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank, dass du da warst. Oder dass du da bist noch, weiß ich nicht. I want to, kind of summarize a little bit more about this. I would say, let's give you some great takeaways, but summarizing is this: we've got silent listeners out there that we are never really going to know whether or not we're making an impact with them. So instead of worrying about whether you're making an impact necessarily with them, let's determine whether or not you're building credibility just overall. How do we do that? It's not always evident because, again, those silent people are going to be the ones that aren't commenting and liking. So most certainly use those as a way to start, developing and understanding. But more importantly, go to your profile views and your connection requests and see whether or not you've seen an uptick after you've published a post or a comment, right? And then make sure that you look at, it's easy to get lost in this. I'm not getting enough likes or comments. I'm not having enough conversation in the DMs. How can I be establishing credibility? But look at the conversations you're having around collaboration, the opportunities that you are getting to speak somewhere else, guest on a live stream, or write an article again. Those are all things that you may not think about. They may seem isolated, but they really do play a role in helping you determine whether or not you really are credible. And if you are in this place, I know Gino and I have talked live. And I know Gino he's struggling with kind of how to get there, right? How to feel like he's in this credible space where he's got inbound leads coming in. He's credible. He knows he's credible, but where he's getting inbound leads coming in. And it is really about both visibility and credibility. And for those of you who are still out there trying to figure it all out, if you aren't doing some of those extra activities that I just mentioned, some outside activities that are separate from commenting and from your actual posts themselves, go find different live streams to potentially guest on. Think about your level of expertise, your area of knowledge, and go seek out some live streams. And by the way, Nikki can help you with that if you don't know where to go.
We run 4 of them a week.
Yeah, I mean, that's her gig, right? You need somewhere to go. She will help you find the place to go, right? She'll help you refine your messaging too, so that you can pitch yourself to get on those shows, right? But it's going out and finding and find others to collaborate with, right? I mean, Nikki and I originally were not intending on collaborating. We became friends. But when you think about sales and marketing, the reason why it made sense is because marketing and sales, while they all have the same end result that they're trying to get to, how they get there is very different. And a lot of times sales and marketing is very siloed. And because their path is different and because they're siloed, usually they're more at battle than they are working together. So it made tremendous it was just super valuable for us to partner together because we could show a united front and that sales and marketing could work together in a way that no one ever had anticipated, right? So find those opportunities to collaborate. And Gino says, great idea. Which one was the great idea? It was all great, wasn't it, Gino? Anything else that you think I missed on the summary, Nikki?
I want to add to the sales and marketing. What we see is that there is all of the live streams that you could do, the posts that you could do. The sales aspect comes in when it goes from a marketing qualified lead. You've actually gotten to find out who your lurkers are, the cautious watchers, maybe we'll say, cautious testers of your credibility. Is the next thing is to go and do that sales process. And that's the follow-up. So you've turned them into a marketing qualified lead because you've gotten to talk to them. You realize that their interest in the things that you offer may be of interest to them. And then the sales is like, that's when you start to figure out, like, what's the discovery look like? And that's where sales and marketing comes together in that. And so when you're going to do that conversion aspect, whether it's to sell something, whether it's to get donations or a sponsorship, like, it's going to be important, that conversion part. And that's when you need sales. That's where Denise comes in. She talks about on LinkedIn, how to be able to create a DM, but she's also talking about how to take a DM and turn it into a future opportunity, a prospect. So that's the only thing that I'll cover pretty well.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So I think some maybe great tips. You tell me if I'm wrong or add something that you think I might have missed, but some practical tips that I would think you guys should go out and practice as soon as we get off this session is go look at your last post or your most recent comment that you made and go see if you got any engagement or how much that engagement was, and make a notation of it. Then go look at your connection request. If you posted yesterday, you'll be able to see the connection requests that happened since yesterday. So you'll be able to see that, and go compare that to a day that you did not post anything. Or if you commented, you can apply this to your comments as well. Whenever your last comment was, see if you had an uptick there. So make sure you look at your analytics for your comments, see if anyone engaged, liked, saw it, etc. And then go and look at your analytics as it relates to your profile views and also your connection requests. So go out, look at your most recent post or your most recent comment, either of the two, depends on where you are in your LinkedIn journey, right? Go look at the analytics there, make note of it, look at some previous analytics on a previous post or comment, and then go look at the difference in your profile views or your connection requests. Connection requests are a bit harder to go back and review from previous content because they are not quite as clean. Like it doesn't say that they connected with you 2 hours ago, right? Whereas your profile views will give you, hey, they viewed your profile like 10 hours ago, right? So it's not quite as clean there, but look at both of those and start doing that going forward, at least for the first 1 to 2 weeks. So maybe full 2 weeks, go look and see if you see a correlation at all. And if you don't, let's have a conversation about that. If you do, but you don't know what to do with it, let's have a conversation about that. And if you want to get out and do some of those side things that we talked about, guesting, collaborating, just making an impact overall, building out stronger credibility, let's have a conversation on how we can do that more effectively. Nikki does all things related to marketing. I do all things related to sales. So with that, we are at the end of our day, at the end of our episode today. I'm super excited, Nikki, that you were here with us. I hope this was as valuable for you as it was for me having you here. So thank you.
Yes, I appreciate it. I was jumping on. We had that weird time zone thing, and I wanted to be here to be supportive. And I'm excited that this is the topic that we got to go into, because this is where the business happens. This is where people can grow, and we can be able to help them to educate instead of LinkedIn becoming the next Instagram or Facebook, or becoming a place where you don't actually convert sales. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity we get to do together. Thanks, Denise.
Thank you. I'm thankful that you are here. I'm thankful for our friendship. I'm thankful for all of our partnerships that we've had in the past and where we are today. I just am super appreciative. I'm also, while I'm on the appreciation train, I am super appreciative of those who are out here, either whether you're team live or team replay. I want to send a very warm thank you to Gino, to Melanie, to Patrizia, to Ariel, and I think that's it. For any of you others who are silent listeners out there, we also thank you and appreciate that you were there as well. If you're team replay, just leave us the hashtag team replay. Again, a big thanks to our sponsors, All Things Marketing, Marketing More, All Things Sales Related, Celebrators, and any impact that you want to make or that you want to engage with those that actually do make impact. Top Voices Unite. So we are here. Oh, Corey says, Denise Martha Bachman is incredible. Love this stream. Oh, thanks, Corey. I appreciate you. I love Corey. Corey's another one where we built an amazing friendship and partnerships. So I am so super appreciative. So I want to thank everyone here today. I want to wish you a happy hump day. Nikki, let us know though, before we go, where can everyone find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Nikki Estes. You can come find me there, or go to our website, marketmemore.com, and we would love to help you to be able to build your brand through events. I personally think is the best way. Like, I recommend you start doing that. But if you have a slow start, we can be able to help you that way. And Denise will help you with your sales.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Again, man, it's been one of those days. I don't know why, but we look forward to seeing you next week, whether Nikki is here as a guest or in the audience, because she's always here. I want you to be sure to be here next week. We're here Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Central, usually. Today was the glitch, but 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I look forward, and Corey says Nikki Estes is awesome too. Yes, she is. And I look forward to seeing you all here next week. Super appreciative that you are here today. Great topic today. Go out and test take back those practical tips and let us know how you're doing. And if you're failing or you need some help or you're uncertain, reach out to us. We're here to have that conversation with you. So thank you all. See you here next week. Talk to you later.
Bye. Thank you.